Yeah, so with generative AI, there's a ton of stuff going on right now. And, it's incredible to think it's only been a year since we've been exposed to generative AI as a mass consumption approach. The first thing we're seeing is that the security implications of using generative AI is really becoming much more apparent to enterprises, particularly. But the idea that actually it really isn't a great idea to be putting content, particularly of a proprietary or confidential nature, into a public cloud-based LLM. So many organizations have locked down access to Bard or ChatGPT for very good reasons. So that's great. So security understanding, and why are they concerned is because they really understand now much more than before that this content that you put into an LLM can be potentially used by the LLM depending on its approach and setup. So we're seeing now a trend towards, especially in the enterprise, towards private LLMs, large language models, and also SLMs, small language models. That's really, really positive. Now that's going to bring a second challenge for large organizations. And that second challenge will be, how do you manage the LLM that you privately deploy? How do you maintain it? So it's going to bring a second kind of area, and I like to call it kind of middleware or infrastructure components. What do you do when the LLM goes down? How do you back things up? What are you going to do when you need to upgrade? What are you going to do when you need to switch out the LLM for a different version or a different LLM completely? So there are a lot of considerations that are going to happen in the next 6 months around that idea of owning your own LLM and managing LLMs. So IT teams are going to be extremely busy with management of LLMs. The LLM itself will be commoditized. Cost of ownership on hardware is certainly going to decrease, but the increase will actually be in the soft costs, the operational costs surrounding it. So this obsession that, compute cycles, they're going to go down, various approaches, distilled type LLMs, which are a way in which you can kind of lower your energy consumption, will kick in. RAG architectures will kick in. That's retrieval augmented generation will kick in, where you can kind of point and kind of bound the LLM and what it gives you back based on content that's existing in your organization. This will all happen, but the collection of all of that will mean that the operational aspects will increase in terms of overheads and IT people, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to find also from a product standpoint, so that's the enterprise, what's the enterprise going to do? On the product side, vendors, there are a ton of vendors out there who basically released effectively thin wrapper layers around LLMs. Because it's easy to do, they've often kind of depended on public domain LLMs, public cloud LLMs, should I say, because that's really simple to do. But those wrapper type products, just what's going to happen there is that they're going to be found out in many cases. Some of them will raise some money. They'll probably run out of money. They'll realize that actually delivering a product which depends on a public domain LLM is not appropriate in the enterprise. So they'll find themselves in a little bit of hot water. They will need to, good product vendors, and again, ourselves at VisibleThread, we've been around for 10, 15 years. We have a lot of AI in our product already, not generative AI, traditional AI. As we layer in generative AI, we will be shipping our own private LLM, but we'll also architect it such that we're abstracting ourselves from our own private LLM so that if you wish to switch out the LLM that you've got privately deployed, that will be possible. So plumbing will be a really important element of how vendors like ourselves deploy their products. So in short, what we see happening is more awareness of security, better awareness of, hallucinations. LLMs will become commoditized. The compute cost will lower, but the actual operational cost will increase. Most organizations will end up having to support the traditional deployment cycle, maintenance cycle, particularly if they build their own kit. Product vendors will need to move away from thin veneer type products to more deeper products, and they will likely need to ship their own LLMs. And finally, the plumbing to kind of hook all this together will be a really key consideration. So that's how we see things going in the next 6 months.